Coming up on the newsfeed, time is running out for a submersible touring the Titanic. And the Texas Senate is on track to lower your property taxes. Plus, do daytime naps prevent dementia or cause it? We'll have that and more, plus weather and sports. It's 1 o'clock and the newsfeed starts now. It's a race against time, 400 nautical miles from the coast in the Atlantic Ocean, as search crews comb the sea for a submersible that went missing while taking passengers on a tour nearly 13,000 feet below the water to explore the wreckage of the Titanic on Sunday. Chris Wen is in Boston with the latest.
The minutes melt away on search crews' potential to find people alive as oxygen runs short on board the missing Titan submersible.
The surface search is now approximately 2 times the size of Connecticut, and the subsurface search is up to 2.5 miles deep, exponentially expanding the size of the search area.
The longer it takes, the less likely that a positive outcome will occur.
But all hope is not lost. Cutting through the darkness of the deep sea, consistent banging noises have been detected during the search.
We don't know the source of that noise, but we've shared that information with Navy experts to classify it. In the meantime, it's a target, it's a focus for us to look at. And so we've deployed the remote operated vehicles and the surface vessel, the Canadian Coast Guard surface vessel that has sonar capability in the vicinity.
You can't ignore the banging, and you don't have time to wait to analyze the sounds exactly. So you have to assume, I think, that they're human-made.
Until the sub is found, there's more questions than answers as to what happened. Right now, all experts can do is speculate.
Was there a problem with the porthole? Was it a problem with the pressure? Was it a problem with the valve? But if a submersible doesn't go back to the surface on itself, on its own, it's really that there is a deep problem.
In Boston, I'm Chris Wen.
The vessel still has not been found, and as of 6:08 a.m. today, the predicted time for their oxygen supplies to run out has passed. A Canadian deep-sea robot has reached the seafloor, which experts say could be the key to finding the submersible. Police are still investigating a devastating drive-by shooting in East Fort Worth that took the life of a 12-year-old boy Monday night. Officers were dispatched at 10 p.m. when homicide detectives learned the boy was shot at the shopping center along Brentwood Stair. His name was Trayshawn Eunice. Family members say he attended a Fort Worth ISD school, which is all the information they have decided to share with the public right now. Trayshawn was rushed to Cook Children's Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. No arrests have been made at this time. An El Paso Uber driver was seriously wounded after a passenger reportedly shot him. Police believed the passenger panicked and thought she was being kidnapped and taken across the border after she saw road signs for Juarez, Mexico. That 48-year-old woman is now charged with aggravated assault. Rosemary Montanez has the story.
At this moment, it does appear that the Uber driver picked her up from the west side of town and was taking her to the destination that she had selected the Uber driver to take her to.
El Paso police say a 48-year-old black woman from Kentucky was the passenger. Police say they were near US 54, near exit 20, which splits to Loop 375, when that woman opened fire on that Uber driver, a 52-year-old El Paso man.
There was preliminary reports that a kidnapping may have been involved or may have taken place. At this moment in the investigation does not support that any kidnapping had taken place.
Police officials confirmed the woman was in possession of that firearm, but police weren't able to say how she got it. The Kentucky woman is the one who reportedly called authorities. As for why there was a suspicion of a kidnapping,
I really won't be able to go into that, but that was some initial reports that came in prior to the shooting call.
I asked police if the woman was cooperating with the investigation. They were not able to provide that information. That woman is still being detained while the man is fighting for his life in the hospital.
She is detained for investigative purposes, and as the investigation unfolds and obviously we gather more information, we'll be able to make a determination whether there is more to this story.
The Senate just passed the largest tax cut in the history of the world. That's what Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick told reporters on Tuesday after the Texas Senate agreed to an $18 billion property tax relief. Homeowners can expect to see their homestead exemptions rise to $100,000, and the homestead exemptions for homeowners over 65 would increase to $110,000. The new bill also doubles the business franchise tax exemption to nearly $2.5 million. The bill still needs to pass the Texas House before going to the governor's desk. Juneteenth celebrations were happening everywhere across the nation. And how are students grading their schools? We'll have that, plus national news, next.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. So if you want to talk to your kids, you have to get it trending.
No, you're doing it wrong.
Let's go. Can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Last week, we told you about Fort Worth's very own Opal Lee, who spoke at the White House Juneteenth concert, and on Monday, the grandmother of Juneteenth led thousands who marched in Fort Worth to celebrate the new national holiday. The walk marches 2.5 miles to mark the 2.5 years it took for the Emancipation Proclamation to reach the shores of Galveston. Opal Lee was not alone in her celebration. Jen Sullivan looks at the highlights of festivities across the country and the historic significance behind this holiday.
Cities across the country celebrating Juneteenth, a federal holiday marking the end of slavery. One of the nation's largest parades held in Philadelphia. Marches bringing people together in Denver.
It makes you see that it's not just you, you're not alone.
And in Washington, D.C., festivals lined the streets.
This holiday is about celebrating freedom from slavery. As hard as that is to even say, that's the reality.
While cities are filled with colorful celebrations this holiday, the road to end slavery was a much darker time in American history. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, ending slavery in the U.S. But news of liberation slowly spread across the South. It took more than 2 years for the news to reach the final enslaved group in Galveston, Texas. That day was June 19, 1865, 158 years ago.
The country, the nation, the government had people in bondage. It was ugly. But now is a time that we can show the world that America doesn't stay in bondage, that it actually comes forth.
Monday, the city of Galveston marking the birthplace of what is now Juneteenth, a day of liberation now celebrated across the country.
To celebrate one of our nation's founding principles, the principle of freedom.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
President Biden made an unexpected comparison while talking about Chinese President Xi Jinping in California. The president compared his Chinese counterpart to dictators during a political fundraiser Tuesday night. He was discussing how the Chinese leader reacted to the U.S. shooting down a much publicized Chinese spy balloon earlier this year. Biden's unscripted remarks comes during a tense time in relations between the U.S. and China. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Monday he had made progress in repairing the fractured relationship during a recent trip to Beijing. But Biden noted improving the relationship would take time. And the president is still keeping his relationship with his son strong after a plea deal was reached in the federal investigation into Hunter Biden. Mike Valerio has the latest.
Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, will plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax offenses and struck a deal with federal prosecutors to resolve a felony gun charge. According to prosecutors, Hunter Biden owed at least $100,000 in federal taxes in both 2017 and 2018, but did not pay what was due to the IRS by the deadlines. Last year, a lawyer for the president's son said his client has since, quote, fully paid those IRS debts. The 53-year-old also struck a deal with federal prosecutors to resolve 1 felony gun charge. In 2021 interviews with the media, Hunter Biden talked about how he'd been addicted to drugs, which raised the possibility he broke federal law when he bought a firearm. The White House issued a statement saying, quote, the president and first lady love their son and support him as he continues to rebuild his life. We will have no further comment. Former President Donald Trump slammed the plea deal. Writing on Truth Social, it equates to a mere traffic ticket. The U.S. Attorney for Delaware, David Weiss, appointed by former President Trump, says the Hunter Biden investigation is ongoing. Republican Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy says the agreement won't impact a Republican congressional probe into the Biden family's business dealings.
It actually should enhance our investigations because the DOJ should not be able to withhold any information now.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
It appears U.S. schools have room for improvement. Gallup and the Walton Family Foundation asked 5th through 12th graders to assess their school's quality in regards to several categories, including teaching, preparing them for the future, and mental health support. 2/3 of the students graded their school an A or a B, while nearly a quarter gave a C and 10% gave either a D or an F. Schools received the worst grades on metrics and the best grades for safety and respect. Next on the newsfeed, Perryton, Texas is still recovering from a devastating tornado. Plus, the Texas heat is turning deadly. I'll tell you why after this.
How you doing? Hey, Mason. Hey, Mason. Thank you. A place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Yo, camping buddy. Okay, you guys ready?
Dude, I thought you were driving.
I thought you were driving.
Oh, I never said I was driving.
I definitely can't drive.
Okay.
If you're high, just don't drive. It's illegal everywhere. If you feel different, you drive different.
My name is Gary Parker. I served as a Cavalry Scout and a military policeman in the United States Army for 20 years. When I was a Cavalry Scout, we had a young lieutenant that came in. Great guy, but he moved on, got promoted to lieutenant colonel, went on to Afghanistan, and I was able to keep in contact. And I'd wake up one morning, go on social media, and there's that post you don't want to see. For whatever reason, he took his own life. Nobody knows why he did it, and if there's something that we could have done to prevent it from happening. Safe gun storage can prevent gun suicide because it's that added step to get to your firearm that might just give somebody a moment of reflection on what they're doing. As a veteran, we need to be ambassadors to people that don't have the knowledge that we have. Anytime you're not storing a weapon safely, you're putting yourself and your community at risk. Service never stops.
After a devastating tornado killed at least 3 people in Perryton, Texas over the weekend, survivors are recalling the moment the storm hit their community. Mitchell Downing was there.
All I heard was banging on the door. My back was against the door, holding my brother.
Victor Munoz describing the scene hours after a deadly tornado hit his family's house. After being inches away from death, he finds perspective. Thankful his family is alive.
I'm just happy my brothers are alive. I mean, I know all the property and everything, accessories can be replaced, but a life, it can never be replaced. And just being in the tornado, thinking about it, like my brother worrying, crying, it would have killed me. It would have hurt me inside. I don't know what I would have done.
With over a city block leveled, there are more stories just like Victor's.
It dropped down right on top of Perryton and proceeded to go through a trailer park and continue on in a westerly direction, leaving a pretty substantial damage path.
Local and state first responders continue to work the scene while connecting victims with the resources they seek.
We had some missing people. Those have been located. We've had quite a few injuries, probably 115 to 125 injuries. We've lost a lot of homes, businesses, rental property. It's just a lot of damage to our community. And it's going to take some time to get this cleaned up.
And out of the kitchen. Austin, what more can we expect?
Summer solstice was yesterday, the longest day of the year and the first official day of summer. We're definitely feeling that summer heat with a current temperature in the metro of 92 degrees on our way up to a high of 97 for the day. However, with the heat index, it's feeling more like 110 degrees. Not super comfortable. Tomorrow, we're in the same boat, 95 for a high, 79 overnight. Saturday and Sunday, though, we're working our way up into those triple-digit temperatures. We still have a couple of clouds sticking around, giving us some relief. We'll take it. Next week, we're seeing triple digits again all through the week. So here we see Monday, Tuesday, we're at a high of 102. Sorry, guys, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're at highs of 103. We're not getting much relief overnight. You can see overnight lows around 80 degrees, 79 throughout the week. It's going to be really clear at the beginning of the week. Wonderful if you're a stargazer. However, if you're working outside, my advice is hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. As we mentioned last week, make sure you can recognize the signs of heat exhaustion and take measures to stay cool.
Thank you, Austin. The United States Post Office is mourning the loss of one of its employees who passed away during their route in a North Texas neighborhood this week. In a statement, USPS said the employee was working a route in the Lakewood area of Dallas when he died of a possible heat-related illness. At this time, the letter carrier's exact cause of death nor his name have been released to the public. Wednesday marked the official first day of summer. Just like here in Texas, other parts of the U.S. are already baking under extreme heat. There are a few things you can do right now to prepare. Karen Kafa explains.
In states like Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi this week, the heat indices, that combination of temperature and humidity, have been absolutely staggering, climbing over 100 degrees, projected to exceed 120 in some areas. It is a reminder to all of us that summer is here, and it is best to prepare now for potentially dangerous temperatures later. Triple-digit temperatures putting a strain on power grids this week and adding to the fallout from storms in southeast states. Wednesday marks the official start of summer, but parts of the U.S. have already felt the swelter. And when temperatures soar near or above 100 degrees, heat isn't just an inconvenience, it can be deadly.
Heat stroke is actually when a person can become unconscious, and if they do not get medical attention immediately, they could unfortunately die.
Kimberly McMahon of the National Weather Service says the time to prepare is before temperatures soar.
Making sure that your air conditioning is in proper working order, make sure that you have plenty of water, be it bottled water, and access to water in case you do have a power outage when there is extreme heat. But you can also look for locations to be your backup plan.
That backup plan in case of a power outage at home, McMahon says, means identifying a cooling center or a public space with air conditioning like a mall or library. And planning is especially key if someone in your household is particularly vulnerable to extreme temperatures.
There are those who are more susceptible to heat, such as children, older adults, those who are working outdoors, those with chronic illnesses or on certain medications.
And when temperatures do spike, the National Weather Service advises staying indoors during the hottest part of the day, keeping yourself hydrated, and never leaving kids or pets in cars unattended. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Most summer vacations consist of 3 things: sunshine, sand, and cell phones. But this island off the coast of Finland is encouraging visitors to get a little more sun and a little less screen. The island Ulko-Tamio is urging tourists to turn off their phones and enjoy the beauty the popular spot has to offer without devices. Although visitors can choose to unplug or not, Ulko-Tamio claims to be the world's first phone-free tourist island. Visitors can spend a quiet night on the island in a tent or cabin and enjoy pristine nature during the day. The NFL is cracking down on gambling, plus HEB continues to spread through the Metroplex. You're watching the NewsFeed.
My name is Teresa Barber. I was in the United States Navy and I served overseas in the Middle East and Africa. Early on in my career, I had a commander that taught our suicide prevention training on a Friday afternoon, and the very next day he took his own life. 90% of suicide attempts involving a gun are fatal. You don't know how much somebody can hide what's going on inside their head. Store your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Everyone deserves to live a full life. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
HEB is known as one of the most popular grocery stores in Texas, and as it continues to expand, the grocery store giant has opened an e-commerce fulfillment center in Plano. The 5,000 square foot fulfillment center will support curbside and home delivery orders for Frisco, Plano, McKinney, and Allen stores. HEB reps say this will support the rising demand of online shopping and will allow for more capacity, greater efficiency, and better product availability in its stores. Well, between the NBA draft, college playoffs, and the Texas Rangers, there's a lot going on. Jason, what is it?
That's right. Plenty of sports to cover, so let's get to it. The Rangers got their groove back and finished the homestand beating the Blue Jays. They followed that up with an impressive win in Chicago. With tonight off, the Rangers can use the rest. This weekend, they battle the Yankees. Game 1 is tomorrow. In Omaha, TCU advanced as one of the final 4 teams in the College World Series, but their dream season was cut short just 1 game away from the championship. The Frogs tied the game in the bottom of the 8th, but Florida had other plans and scored the winning run in the 9th to advance past the Frogs 3-2. In the NBA draft will take place tonight in Indy, with the Spurs expecting to select center 7'5" Victor Wembanyama. Outside the draft, superstars were on the move as Bradley Beal was traded to Phoenix for Chris Paul, and former Mavs Kristaps Porzingis was traded to Boston. And on the pitch, the U.S. men's national team won the Nations League Cup with a big win over Canada. But the headlines from the tournament came during their match versus Mexico. The game was stopped in the 90th minute as anti-gay chants rang out through the Vegas crowd from the Mexico fans toward U.S. goalkeeper Matt Turner. The game was eventually called as the chants continued. After the chants, many called the situation embarrassing. And I agree, that is embarrassing. And that's your Timeline Sports.
In the wake of recent violations, the NFL has set 6 new rules to prohibit gambling on football players by players. Under the new rules announced Tuesday, players will not be able to bet on NFL games or allow someone to place bets for them. NFL players will not be allowed to place sports bets at team facilities or when at team hotels. Players will be prohibited from sharing inside information with anyone or even entering a sports book during the season. Finally, NFL players will not even be allowed to play fantasy football. NFL rookies will be required to attend mandatory training on the new rules. Summer in full effect, one Cincinnati grandmother is keeping her community pool open. Plus, I'll have more information about how naps during the day could be healthier than we thought. We'll be right back.
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
Jason, let's go see your room.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Some children and families in Cincinnati will be getting more pool time this summer, thanks to a grandma who stepped up to help fill a lifeguard shortage. Ashley Smith reports.
At Montgomery Town in Sycamore Township, residents enjoy amenities like basketball and tennis courts, green space, and a swimming pool. But that pool has to be staffed with a lifeguard for it to be open. That's where 66-year-old Gail Rogers comes in. Rogers is on the board at Montgomery Town, and she learned there was a need to hire more lifeguards or the pool would have to close on certain days.
There's a need out there, and there's a population that could fill that need. I think it's great to be able to sit out here, enjoy the nice weather, not today maybe, but on other days, and it kind of keeps you in shape. You find out that you can do things that you weren't real sure you could do, like swim 300 yards.
Rogers says she was a lifeguard when she was a teenager and figured she could give it a shot again. She took all the classes and became certified last year. Now she fills in when the other lifeguards need time off.
I have a dog, so I walk the neighborhood. I know a lot of people with dogs, but I don't necessarily know a lot of young couples with kids. So I'm getting to know them. I'm getting to know all the kids. And I think maybe the kids will respond to me as a lifeguard more so because I am older, where they might take advantage of a teenager, especially another teenager. They all seem to be listening so far, so that's great.
Cincinnati Pool Management is responsible for pool maintenance and staffing. President Jeff Bloom says Rogers is a great fit.
It's a treat. It's a wonderful. You know, we love her enthusiasm. We're happy she's here, and she brings a different perspective to the lifeguarding world.
In addition to getting a tan and some extra money, Rogers is learning skills that go beyond the pool, skills that people of all ages could use.
The other good thing is you learn CPR, you learn how to operate an AED, and for someone in their 60s, that's a really good thing to know.
The whole goal of a lifeguard is to spot something before it happens, so they're going to be proactive.
But so far, nothing major has happened while she's on duty.
I did have to blow my whistle a couple of times at kids that were diving when they should be diving, that type of thing, but they all respond great.
Here's some news you can sleep on. Taking daytime naps may help maintain brain health as we age. That's according to a new study in the journal Sleep Health. Researchers from University College London and the University of the Republic of Uruguay say habitual napping was linked with larger total brain volume. That, in turn, is associated with a lower risk of dementia and other diseases. Researchers say, on average, the difference in brain volume between nappers and non-nappers was equivalent to 2.5 to 6.5 years of aging. However, prior research has shown that excess napping can also be harmful and could even be a sign of dementia. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Happy Pride Month, and we'll see you back here next week for the Newsfeed.